All right, so let's start. Chapter 6. The title of Chapter 6 is Tea. And they had just got the envelope back from the photomat to see what pictures were on that roll of film. There were 23 photos in all, the same number as Mama had words. Some of the pictures were so blurry you couldn't tell what they were, but plenty of them were clear. They were all taken at a Christmas party. There was a dressed-up Santa Claus with a white cotton beard and a crooked tree covered with paper chains and glitter pine cones that looked homemade. Some of the people in the pictures were walking around with trays of punch and cookies, and some were sitting in wheelchairs or slumped in orange and turquoise molded plastic chairs with thin metal legs. "Who are all these people?" I asked, slowly examining each photo before slipping it to the back of the stack. Bernie was sitting next to me on the couch, her head bent toward mine. "Looks like it could be some kind of a club, and this was their Christmas party," Bernie said. "Why are so many of them twisted up?" I asked. "Handicapped, you mean," said Bernie. "Maybe it's a hospital or a special home." "Who took the pictures?" I asked. "Do you think Mama did?" "I doubt if she could use a camera, baby." "Then who took them, and how did Mama end up with the camera?" I asked. Bernie shook her head. "I don't know, sweetie." There were several pictures of a group of 3 plump teenaged girls with drooping eyelids and ill-fitting party dresses. Then 2 of a shaggy-haired boy about 18 or 19. His eyes were beautiful, dark blue, almost black, but his head seemed balanced at an odd angle on top of his thin neck, his mouth contorted in a grimace, which could have been either pain or pleasure. It was hard to tell. In one of the shots, the man in the Santa suit stood beside the boy, his arm around his shoulder, neither one smiling. The Santa was extremely tall and thin, and he hadn't bothered to pad the suit, so it billowed out loosely around the middle. His street clothes, shirt collar, necktie, and pant cuffs poked out from under the red and white costume, the sleeves so short that his bony wrists stuck out a good 3 inches from the white cuffs, revealing the gold watch he had on. "Pretty scrawny-looking Santa," I said. "It's not the missing belly of jelly that bothers me. It's what his eyes are saying," Bernie said. "How can you tell under those big cotton eyebrows?" I asked. "I can tell," she said. After that, more snapshots of people posing in front of the tree and eating cookies, and then came a slightly blurry picture of a middle-aged blonde woman in a red sweater with reindeer on it standing in front of a massive stone fireplace, with her arm around a smiling girl with wide-set, pale blue eyes. I knew right away the girl was Mama. "She was kind of fat," I said. "Or maybe she was pregnant," Bernie said. "With me, you mean?" I asked, looking hard at the photo. "Seems like a safe bet," she said, taking the picture from me and looking at it closely. "And my guess is that the woman in the red sweater is your Grammy." I grabbed the photo back from Bernadette and stared at the blonde woman. "Really? How do you know?" "Look at the eyes." "What do you think, Heidi?" asked Bernadette. "They look like Mama's, only not so wide apart." "They look like yours, baby," Bernadette said gently. We went through the whole stack of photos several times. Most of them were taken inside the room where the party was, but there was one taken outdoors on a wooden porch under a big sign with green letters that said, Hilltop Home, Liberty, New York. We have to show the pictures to Mama as soon as she wakes up, I said excitedly. She knew these people, Bernie. She was there. Yes, she was, baby. But you know how your mama is. She might not be able to recognize herself from a photo, especially an old one. Maybe looking at these will zap Mama's brain like a bolt of lightning and jumpstart her memory, Bernie. Then it hit me. Maybe Soof is in the pictures. Maybe, she said, but I could tell she had her doubts. While Mama finished napping, I let myself float suspended like a lily pad in my private little pool of hope. I passed the time by looking up Liberty, New York in the atlas and pressing my finger down again and again on the town where Hilltop Home had been, the place where my mama and maybe my Grammy had stood in front of a big fireplace smiling at the camera. I wondered about who had taken the photographs and how Mama and I had ended up so far from New York. I wondered where my Grammy was now and whether Hilltop Home was still there in Liberty. I was just about to go over to Bernie's and ask if we could call information to check for a listing when I heard Mama stir and call out. Bernadette had gone back to her apartment to feed her cats, Clara Barton and Cookie Dough, named after one of her heroes and one of my favorite flavors of ice cream. The cats never came through the door into Mama's and my house. When they got hungry or lonely, they stood on the threshold and cried for Bernie. I used to worry that they did that because they had caught Bernie's AP, but she assured me that it wasn't a catching thing for animals or people. When I heard Mama calling, I ran to the kitchen and shouted through the doorway, "Come quick, Bernie, she's up." Bernadette came right over and we went into Mama's room together. She was lying under her covers, rubbing her eyes. When she saw us, she smiled. "Hello, Heidi. Hello, Det." I remembered the first time Mama called Bernadette Det. I thought Bernie was going to cry from sheer joy. Mama didn't add new words to her vocabulary very often, so each one was a big event in our house. That was a very special edition. It was number 15 on the list. "Hello, precious," Bernadette cooed as she sat down on the bed next to Mama and pushed the hair out of her eyes. "How did you sleep? How is your head?" Mama used to get a lot of headaches. She'd hold her head and rock and moan. Usually a nap would make it better, but sometimes she needed Tylenol. She had trouble taking any kind of pills. She couldn't swallow them, so Bernadette would grind up the tablets and put the powder in Jell-O. Mama loved Jell-O almost as much as juju fruits. "Can we show her now?" I whispered. "Shh, Heidi, slow down. She's only just waking up, and her head was hurting pretty bad before she went to sleep. Give her a second." I could barely contain myself as Bernadette sat by Mama, talking softly to her until she was awake enough to get up and go comb her hair and wash her face. Finally, Mama emerged from the bathroom and came to sit by me on the couch. "Hello, Heidi," she said, patting my knee. "Hello, Mama," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm and even. I looked at Bernadette and she shrugged. "Mama, do you want to see some pretty pictures?" I asked. Mama nodded. They were taken a long time ago at Hilltop Home, Mama. Do you remember Hilltop Home? Mama smiled and patted my knee. Hello, Heidi, she said. Hello, Mama. I picked up the stack of photographs and chose one, holding it carefully by the edges so I wouldn't smudge it. Look, Mama, see the Santa Claus. Mama looked at the photograph and smiled. I showed her another one. See all the people. Mama looked at the photograph and smiled. Bernadette came over and looked over my shoulder at the picture I was showing Mama. Don't they look pretty, Precious? She asked. Mama said, Pretty, Det. Look at this one, Mama. Who do you see? I showed her the photograph of the girl and the woman in the red sweater in front of the fireplace. Mama looked at the photograph and smiled. Suf, she said. My heart nearly stopped. Where, Mama? Show me. Show me Suf. I was barely able to contain my excitement. Tea, Heidi? Mama said suddenly, smoothing her skirt nervously with both hands. Wait, Mama, not yet. First show me Suf. Mama began to smooth her skirt faster. Tea, Heidi, she said, her voice rising up a notch. I don't want any tea, Mama. I want you to show me Suf. Point to Suf, I said. I was talking louder than I meant to be, louder than I should have been, and I felt Bernadette reach out and squeeze my shoulder. Leave your Mama be now, Heidi. She'll show us when she's ready to. No, she won't, I said, shrugging out from under Bernadette's hand and pulling Mama's hands roughly away from her skirt. I took her right hand tightly in my own, forced her index finger out straight, and pressed it against the photo. Show me, Mama. Where is Suf? That's enough, Heidi, said Bernadette. Show me, Mama, I demanded. Uh-oh, Mama repeated anxiously, wriggling as she tried to escape my grip. Tea, Heidi, tea. I don't want any tea, I shouted. I want you to tell me, Mama. I want to know. Mama whimpered. Done, Heidi. Shh, she said. Leave your Mama be, Heidi, Bernadette said sternly. You're not ever going to tell me, are you, Mama? I shouted, ignoring Bernadette. Are you, Mama? Are you? I let go of her hand and angrily ripped the photo in half, throwing the pieces in Mama's lap. Then I ran to my room, slammed the door, and with a jagged sob, flung myself face down on the bed. I cried for a long time. I cried so hard it felt like my ribs might crack open. I imagined my heart flying out like a small red bird escaping its cage, going off in search of a more promising person to live in, a person with a history, a person who knew. After a while, I heard my door open and Bernadette and Mama come in. Your Mama's made some tea for you, Heidi, just the way you like it. Sit up, baby, and take it from her, will you please? She needs you to, Bernadette said quietly. I dried my eyes and sat up. Mama looked so worried and sad, standing there with my white cup with the pink roses in her hand. I took it from her and tried to smile. Thank you, Mama. Thank you for the tea. Good, Heidi, tea, she said, brightening immediately. Then she turned and walked out of the room. Where are you going, Precious? Bernadette called after her. Mama reappeared a second later, holding the two halves of the photograph I'd torn. "Uh-oh," she said, handing me the pieces. "Soof?" I slowly got up off the bed and went and stood beside her. "Which one, Mama? Which one is Soof? This one?" With my right hand, I held out the piece of the photograph that showed Mama as a young girl. "Or this one?" I asked, holding out the other piece of the photo. Mama looked at me and smiled. Then she reached over and clumsily pushed the two pieces together. "Tea, Heidi?" she said. Okay, so there you have chapter 6. Lots of good stuff going on. So are we getting any closer to knowing what Soof is? It's hard to tell right now, but we'll keep reading and we'll find out.